Kiwanis. Today we're going to talk about leadership and community safety. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Decatur Police Chief Brad Allen. Chief Allen is a lifelong Decatur resident and a proud graduate of MacArthur High School, class of 1993. He earned his Bachelor's of Science degree in Criminal Justice Science from Illinois State University in 1997 and began his service with the Decatur Police Department on January 7, 1998. Over the course of nearly 3 decades, Chief Allen has served our community in a variety of leadership roles. He was assigned as a detective in 2005, promoted to sergeant in 2013, lieutenant in 2016, deputy chief in 2021, and on May 9, 2025, was promoted to chief of police. In addition to his extensive experience, Chief Allen is a graduate of the prestigious Northwestern University School of Police Staff and Command, Class 568, one of the nation's premier law enforcement leadership programs. Today, Chief Allen will present Behind the Badge, Leadership, Trust, and Policing in Our Community. His presentation will provide us with a unique look at the responsibilities of modern law enforcement, the importance of building trust within the community, and the leadership required to guide a police department in today's environment. Please join me in welcoming a dedicated public servant, community leader, and fellow Decatur resident, Decatur Police Chief Brad Allen.
Thank you for that, Mark. Good morning to everybody. Truly, I'm just a Decatur boy that had the opportunity over the last 30 years to chase and fulfill a dream of being a police officer. I know that's kind of cliche, but that's truly what got me here today. My father spent 28 years on the Decatur Fire Department, so I grew up in a home of public service. I knew that's where my heart was as well. So I chased, I guess, his footsteps in a different direction. Full disclosure, part of it has to do with the hiring process. Happened to be that the police department was taking applications about 6 months ahead of the fire department, so it worked out well for me. But I was scheduled to take the test later in 1997 for the fire department had the police not worked out. So maybe it was meant to be, I guess. So in 1995, the fall of 1995, I was a junior at Illinois State University, and the Decatur Police Department was taking applications for auxiliary police officers. I knew that I wanted to get into law enforcement. I knew I wanted to come back to Decatur and stay in Decatur. So I looked at it as an opportunity to get my kind of foot in the door, if you will. So January 1996, I actually joined the Decatur Police Department, if you will, as an auxiliary police officer, where I spent 2 years until January 98 when they hired me as a full-time officer. So I've been employed by Decatur and paid for 28 and a half years, but kind of spent 30 and a half now around the organization. So it's an honor to be here today. It's a privilege to be the Chief of Police in Decatur. I did not ever think when I became a police officer that I would be in a supervisory role or any type of leadership role. But when you get involved in an organization and you get involved in a great organization such as the Decatur Police Department, I started looking at opportunities and how I could put myself out there and better myself and better the department. So very fortunate that, as Mark mentioned, just a little over a year ago now, then City Manager Tim Gleason appointed me to be the Chief of Police. No better way to, I guess you could end my career, right, at the top. So today's presentation, Behind the Badge, it's really just to, in the short time we have together today, to try to give you a glimpse of the Decatur Police Department, the internal workings of the police department, what the day-to-day operations look like, a little bit of my leadership philosophy and leadership of the police department today, and a lot of the challenges that we're navigating, and kind of where we go from here. So I appreciate everything you guys do for the community and for the youth. I have children. I have one daughter still left in Mount Zion High School. Every year at the awards banquet, I know that you guys come and provide scholarships to the kids. So I'm glad to be able to speak with you today as another group of leaders in the community. So I'm going to kind of begin with a quick story, if you will. So not long ago, one of our officers here in Decatur responded to a routine call. A neighbor was concerned and called us about not seeing an elderly resident for some period of time, a couple of days. It wasn't anything dramatic. It really wasn't the most urgent of calls, and not typically what most people think about in policing, but what happened that day mattered. The officers arrived. They were determined that there was no crime. Really, they just found somebody that needed help, needed a connection, and needed reassurance. So the officers, they didn't just check a box and move on. The officers, they stayed, they made sure the person was okay, helped connect them with needed services, and just as importantly, in my opinion, then followed up to make sure that things continue to work well. No arrest, no flashing lights, no headlines, no news stories about it. But I'll tell you that moment mattered. It mattered to the resident, to the neighborhood, and it reflects something important about policing that doesn't always get seen. And that's kind of my thought behind the badge. Policing today is more service than it is enforcement. Most of what we do, a lot of what we do, is exactly as I just described to you. Somebody that is in some type of need of help, and they reach out to the police department. So as you can see from my slides, which I'm not going to read all of it, but I just told you the story of a routine welfare check, providing compassionate service beyond enforcement, and then what happens behind the badge matters. So a little analogy about leadership, if you will. This is kind of something I came up with when I was seeking the job as the chief of police, to kind of describe what I thought could sum up a police leader. In the state of Alabama, kind of central west, there's a city about the size of Springfield that houses the University of Alabama. Obviously, we know the University of Alabama is a powerhouse football team, and for many, many decades, they had great leadership, but primarily for about 17 years, they had the leadership of Nick Saban. Nick Saban built Alabama into a football powerhouse that everybody wants to play for, everybody wants to work for, and pretty much everybody that lives in Alabama, outside of Auburn fans, wants to be a fan of. So my thought process behind this is kind of similar. My job as the leader, as the chief of police, is to build a team, a powerhouse team here in Decatur. I want the police department to be the best. I want the police department to be where everybody wants to work. I want the leaders of the police department to want to work for me and to buy into our culture. And I want the community to be proud. I want the community to be the team that comes out and supports us. So really my goal as the chief of police is to not necessarily be Nick Saban, but to adopt that philosophy, right? I have to build the Decatur Police Department to the brand that everybody wants to work for, play with, and respect. And that's kind of where I set my analogy as leadership up, if you will. The culture inside of the police department is huge. It all starts at the top, but leadership isn't just at the top. Everybody in the police department, in my opinion, is a leader. On day one, I meet with all new police officers that we hire, and I tell them that you're leaders as of today. I'm the chief of police, but I'm no better than you. I just have different responsibilities than you. Matter of fact, the impact you're going to make in your career at this point is more impactful than my impact is probably going to be as the chief. So leadership starts within. When people think about policing, they think about what they see, kind of as I described. You think about traffic stops, emergency calls, major incidents. You think about the things you see on the news. But what you experience as the public is shaped long before any officer ever arrives on the scene. And it's shaped by that leadership and that culture that I'm talking about trying to have at the Decatur Police Department. I mentioned it's not just about rank, but it's about behavior, the culture we create, the expectations we set, and the standards that we hold ourselves to every day. Because here's the real reality. How we treat each other inside our police department is going to be how our officers show up on the street, and how they treat the public. When the officers feel supported, when they feel well trained, and they're held accountable, they're far more likely to show up in the community with professionalism, patience, and make sound judgment. So if we get the leadership right internally, then it will show externally in every interaction, in every call, and every conversation. So building the trust in the community, we have to build the trust and work on trust every single day. Trust can erode just as fast as trust can be built. Trust isn't built in just the big moments, it's built in the small moments, it's built in every interaction that we have with the public. I stress that to the officers. I tell them to look at the uniform we wear, the patch we wear on our sleeve as a brand, just like the grocery store. I'll use Campbell's soup as an example. You go to the grocery store, you look for Campbell's soup because you know it's a good brand, it's a good quality soup. Maybe it's not, that's just my analogy. But the trust is that everybody that sees this uniform and sees this patch knows who we represent and knows the service they're going to get. So the trust is always built. Every interaction is important to the community and to the person that's called us. It's built when officers take extra minutes to explain themselves, explain the why behind what they're doing. That's a very common question. People just want to know why we're doing things. We are very good as the police at telling people what they have to do, because that's sort of the power that comes with this, but we're not always good about explaining why. And I see that a lot as the chief when I review incidents and talk to people about interactions they've had with the officers when they're not happy, is we can always do better about explaining the why. That's what people really want to know. Why are we doing things? Trust is built when people are treated consistently and fairly, and it's built when we follow through on what we say we're going to do. I'll be the first to acknowledge trust looks different to everybody. Different neighborhoods, different generations, different experiences all shape how people view law enforcement. Obviously, our trust within the minority community is different than our trust in other communities. Within policing itself, sometimes trust in an urban policing environment is different than trust you get in a rural sheriff's department or from the state police. So we have to be conscious about the trust we build and how we can erode it just as fast as we build it. Can't take trust for granted. Like I said, we have to earn it, re-earn it every day. Just as importantly, we have to recognize what does erode trust, and that is inconsistency, lack of communication, and the perception that there's no accountability by our officers. It's getting kind of small to see now. So what are some of the things the public doesn't see? One of the challenges in policing is that much of the work we do happens outside of the public's view. Our officers respond to everything from serious crimes to mental health calls, family disputes, and people simply needing help. I will say that mental health calls are very predominant today, to a concerning level, if you will, that we do have so many people in mental crisis these days. Far more for some reason than ever before. And I don't have a good explanation for it, but we're conscious of it, and we're working hard with partners, particularly Heritage Behavioral Health Center, to be partners with us to kind of combat this together. Officers make decisions in real time, often with incomplete information, under pressures that most people will never experience. And while accountability is critical and obviously expected, it's also important to understand the complexity of some of these moments. But there's another side as well. On one end of the spectrum are the moments that unfold very differently. I know most recently, a perfect example was the gentleman that we had the encounter with downtown that had the crossbow. Moments where an officer has seconds, not minutes, to assess the situation. They have to act on limited information. The stakes are high. They have no opportunity to pause or rewind or really think things through. Those are some of the moments that the public doesn't see until it comes out on video, right? And sometimes those messages are put out without the full context. But while those situations represent a small percentage of what we do, they do carry an enormous weight. So what I think is important from this topic is that the decisions made in those moments are shaped long before they occur. They're shaped through our training, our leadership, and the culture that we create within the Decatur Police Department. It's those quiet conversations, and the problem solving, and then those moments of compassion. That's what builds the real foundation of safety in our community. The Decatur Police Department is a highly trained police department. 2021 maybe now, we went through the Safety Act in Illinois, where some guidance came out to the police departments about training requirements and discipline and things like that. We didn't really have to make any adjustments at the police department. We've always had a philosophy of being forward thinkers. Where's policing going? Where do we need to be? So we already had the body cameras. We already were well beyond minimum training requirements that the state put on us. But the training and the discipline of our officers is really what shows in the situations that are going to be high impact. So to give you a little bit of a snapshot of policing in Decatur, to give it a little bit of a clearer picture maybe, our officers handle thousands of calls for service each year. As you can see from the slide, in 2025, we responded to just under 51,000 calls for service. That's approximately 140 calls a day. Took a little over 11,000 police reports, made a little over 5,200 arrests. Between citations and warnings for traffic violations, that totals right about 11,000 last year, and a little over 4,000 parking citations. And of our traffic stops, 2,600 of them, it looks like, were speeding stops. I think what maybe surprises people when we talk about these kind of stats are those call numbers aren't traditional crime. A lot of that's the service-oriented situations like I described. And then, of course, you can see from this slide that between responding to 140 calls per day, we're also making a good effort to enforce traffic issues and parking issues. For many years, we did a survey of citizens. It was not a after the fact survey. It was more of in other words, we didn't send it to you like after you left your house. It was a survey that went out to just the general public to get inquiries. And the number one concern of the public is always traffic. People speeding, running red lights, using their phones, and then driving four-wheelers and little mini bikes all over town. So I think what people don't know, and it's a good opportunity in situations like this, is to talk to people about, 11,000 citations or warnings in a year is a significant number. So we don't turn a blind eye to those things, and we do try to focus our efforts everywhere we can. Let's see. The Decatur Police Department is divided into 3 divisions. We have a patrol division, an investigations division, and administrative operations. Obviously, patrol is pretty self-explanatory, as is investigations probably. Our administrative operations division is the division I came out of as the deputy chief prior to being named chief. I think it's the most valuable position to be in as you're learning the operations of the police department, and I say it in a joking manner, but it's honest, that it's everything that's not policing. Administrative operations is recruiting, hiring, training, discipline, freedom of information, evidence, records, a lot of that kind of stuff. So budgeting, procurement, so you learn a lot about operating a police department outside of responding to calls and solving crimes. Each division has a deputy chief. The head count at the Decatur Police Department, I have 170 personnel allotted. The city of Decatur has 491 total, so you can see I have about a third of the city's employees under my watch. Our authorized sworn number is 154. That's divided 8 administrators, that's myself, 3 deputy chiefs, and 4 lieutenants, 20 sergeants. Sergeants are the first level of supervision in the police department. They're on the street working with the officers, responding to calls, and a handful of them are assigned to investigations to work with detectives. That leaves 91 patrol officers and 35 detectives. In that 170, excuse me, we have 16 civilian personnel that help us. We've kind of, over the last several years, added civilian personnel, not to replace police officers, but to do some of the non-sworn duties of police, if you will, to help us with our operations. And then there's 7 support staff, mainly volunteers, and that's three police chaplains. We have 2 licensed clinical social workers that are embedded, if you will, at the police department to help our officers through wellness and emotional support. We have an IT person and 1 person assisting the evidence. And you can see at the very bottom there, the budget of the police department is about $38.5 million a year. That's out of the general fund, the city's general fund, and their total budget's $99 million. So I got about a third of the personnel and about a third of the budget. I don't know if you can see that map very well, I guess it's bigger behind me. That's the city of Decatur blown up in 10 colorful districts. Our patrol division is divided into those 10 districts. Each district has 1 police officer per shift assigned to it. And our general responsibilities, every day they come to work, they work in that district, and they get to know the people, and they learn the problems, and they help people understand what's going on and how we can help people. And then, of course, on the days off, we have relief officers that fill in. But so basically, there's at least 10, well, there's always more than 10, but there's at least those 10 officers every day working those districts. If you can tell, obviously, the core of the city, smaller districts, and the outlying areas are larger districts. That's obviously a call volume division, right? I mean, those 3 or 4, those 4 smaller internal core districts are basically 10% of the workload, and then everybody's outside's 10% as well, give or take a little bit. So obviously we're not just like divided into 10 equal areas. So obviously the north side and the east side, you do a lot of industry and things too, but your internal core is where a lot of the activity and the calls generate from. So some of the challenges that we're facing, particularly when it comes to policing today, are like recruiting and retention. I'm kind of trying to read a small print, sorry guys. The hiring of the police over the years has been ups and downs, right? We had a real down period over the last 3 or 4 years where we're back on the upswing. We're getting good numbers. We're back at 148 of our 154 sworn personnel, so I only have 6 vacancies as of today, but we've carried as high as 20 vacancies over the last couple of years. So recruiting and retention has been a big focus of ours. We've put in a dedicated recruiting officer to focus nothing on but recruiting. Diversification of our staff is a big push of ours. Approximately 18% of our current staff is either minority or female. We are seeing about 40% of our applicants minority or female though, so that's positive. Give you some of the numbers to kind of show where we've been over the last couple of years. We've had 39 retirements since January of 2021, 63 resignations, and we've hired 116 new employees in that 5-year period. Well, actually up to the date, so 5.5 years. And out of those 116, we still have 71 people employed. So like many departments across the country, we're facing the same challenges with recruiting and retention. What compounds it is we never lowered our standards, right? We didn't just take people to get numbers. We look for individuals who can do the job, but also the individual who do it the right way with integrity, professionalism, and sound judgment. Retention has been a hot topic. It's just as important. This profession can take a toll, or does take a toll mentally and physically on people. We have to make sure we're supporting our officers so they can continue to serve effectively. We're also navigating evolving expectations. The community expects transparency and fairness and accountability, and they should, and that's what we try to deliver on. Body-worn cameras is a big move we've gone to for transparency. I will say in my 30 years in policing, it's probably the best single tool that's ever been given to the police department. Like everything else though, it came with a little bit of hesitation and resentment. We're the only occupation that I know of in the world that has to record everything we do every day to prove we're doing it right. But the flip side of it is we eliminate a lot of questions about what we do. People don't call People don't call and make complaints on us like they used to. If they do, we can show them the video. We can disprove things. When our critical incidents that we encounter, they're captured on video now. So it just takes out that question, and it helps us show to the public that we're doing the right thing all the time. So I think it's something that's just kind of been adapted, right? Everybody's got kind of used to it. So some of the, continuing on our challenges, obviously reducing our violent crime is a big focus. We had a big stretch late last year into the first of this year with shootings and homicides. We started the first 3 weeks of January this year with 3 homicides. They were kind of a carryover from late last year, but we worked on that until just about 2 weeks ago. We hadn't had a homicide. We're sitting today with 4 homicides for 2026. We're always looking for ways to improve our response time. That's as you can figure that if we have 140 calls we have to respond to a day, with 10 to 14 officers working a shift, and calls for service don't take 5 minutes, some can take several hours. One call can tie up an officer for a whole day. So we look for ways to improve response time. We've done that with an online reporting system. Certain incidents people can report online now. They don't want to take the time to wait for the police. If it fits their schedule better, we don't make people do it, but we offer it. People can call into the police department and talk to civilian personnel, report incidents over the phone if they need to. So we're always looking for ways to not make people sit around for hours for the police to show up. And then improving traffic safety, I kind of hit on that with some of our numbers. Officer wellness, I mentioned a few slides ago, we have 2 LCSWs that work with the police department. A couple years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, we started a peer support team and a critical incident stress management team. We got out of the idea that we're big, bad, tough cops and we have to just absorb everything and go down the road. We need to start taking care of ourselves, understand that this job's different. The number of incidents, critical incidents that a police officer experiences is way more than an average citizen. So, police officers have a high rate of divorce, a high rate of alcoholism, and unfortunately a high rate of suicide. So instead of pretending like we could just deal with things, we look for ways to try to make our officers weller and healthier individuals. So part of that was that LCSW connection where they can go talk to these people. I don't have any idea who goes. They don't report back to me. They're held off site, so there's no coming to the police department to meet with these people. You just go take care of it yourself. Policing is a partnership. I say that to about every group I talk to. We really can't be effective as the police without the public and their support and their help. We rely heavily on information that the public provides back to us for incidences. We have to continue to work that way together. It's really challenging and it's really tough, especially in some of the homicides and more critical incidences where people don't want to cooperate with us. But this is really a shared responsibility. Yes, we're the police, we're the ones who enforce the law, provide the service, but we really have to share this together. We can't really build a safer community alone. Organizations such as yourself help play a critical role. You're engaged with the community and the youth. We're all leaders, we're all mentors, we all are connectors of the community. I think it's not just a concept, it's something that we're working really hard to make real and to be able to show in practical ways that we're part of the community. There's very few community groups, community organizations, community events that we don't make it our priority to be there anymore as the police. The public has to see us and we have to see the public. I mentioned it before, we have to have those relationships before something happens, right? We can't come after the fact and ask people to be on our side. So looking ahead, as we move forward, our focus is clear. We continue to invest in the community. We're always present, accessible, and listening. We prioritize our officer wellness because healthy officers make better decisions. We're using data and technology to guide how we deploy our resources. If you follow some of the initiatives through the police department and city council, technology is where policing is going. We have a dedicated division within our criminal investigations now for technical investigations because everybody's got a phone, everybody's got a computer, We have to be able to analyze that. We can analyze systems inside of vehicles now. We have cameras throughout the town that can capture license plate information. We have some surveillance cameras going up to better monitor areas. I mean, policing is driven highly by technology. So we use that to deploy our resources, right? And we'll always remain committed to fairness, professionalism, and continuous improvement to everything that we do. So I think to close here, because I think I'm going over time, I spent many years in this profession. One thing I've learned, no 2 days are really the same, even as the chief of police. But one thing that I think is constant is the impact that this job has on people. We need to keep that in our minds as police officers and as administrators. I've seen the best of what this job offers. I've seen officers go above and beyond in ways that they don't always get publicly recognized, but I've also seen where we need to improve. And that perspective is also important to myself and my administrative team, so we're always looking for ways to be better. Leadership's not about pretending we're perfect, right? It's about being honest, being accountable, and working together. So behind every badge is a person who chose to serve, chose to work for Decatur, carries the responsibility of making difficult decisions, and often does this work without asking for recognition. So my job, or our job as a department, is to make sure that those officers are supported, trained, and held to the highest standards of the industry and of our particular department. So when they show up in your community, they show up and represent well. So my ask is simple, just stay engaged with us. My email's up there, but you can find it off the website as well. Always ask questions, share your concerns with us. I talked about the district police officer concept, get to know the officers that work in your districts, share information with them. Because trust is built through these relationships and not from a distance. So thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate everything you do, and I look forward to any questions you may have.
We have some time for a couple questions. Anybody have questions?
Yes. Right there.
Steve Allen?
Oh, sorry.
Just a second. We have the microphone right there.
Oh. I have a different phone now. Last year when I had the other phone, somehow, some way, 911 popped up on my phone. And I didn't touch that phone, but I called them back to let them know that everything's fine.
Yeah.
I just wondered how that would do that.
Well, so I don't really know the best answer to that. I've inadvertently had my phone show the screen before where it's trying to ask me if I'm trying to make an emergency call. I don't have the best answer to that. I will say just stay on the line because we're going to find you and call you back through the systems. At the police department, we have to dial 9 before we can dial out, right? So I've been known inadvertently to dial 9 and then a 1. And then before I get to the 217 area code, hit the 1 again. So I called 911 several times myself from my desk phone. The first couple times I tried to hang up, and then I realized that within about 5 seconds they called me back. So now I just stay on the line. But people inadvertently call it. If you do, it's not a huge deal. I mean, most people think they're going to go to jail if they accidentally call 911, which you're not. But I don't have the best explanation of what would have happened, but it did happen. So it's not just you.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, I'd like to give you a shout out for the community involvement that happens with the police department, especially this last weekend with the Phil the Cruiser out at Kroger. That was a very good event. As former director of Northeast, I know that it was appreciated, and we had when I was there, had a wonderful person who was the officer in our area that we worked with quite a bit. Now, the question I have following up is, I think we've all seen here multiple times the incident that happened in the Springfield area with the sheriff's deputy shooting the lady. Is there a statewide or nationwide vetting way to, be better prepared that this kind of thing doesn't happen? I mean, I'm not a professional in that area, but it seems to me that that man never should have been in that position. And, I was a basketball referee also for 30 years. And you talk about you have to start perfect and get better. You know, it's the same thing with policing, and I understand that. But you know, every profession has stuff, but that seemed to be pretty glaring that person was still in that kind of authority.
Yeah, so out of the incident in Springfield came the Sonia Massey Commission, where they changed some things about trying to eliminate bad officers, if you will, through a better background process. So I guess the best way to answer your question is there's always going to be people that slip through the cracks. But they've made it to where we can't hire anybody as a police officer without a full disclosure from everybody they've ever been employed at for their background and employment history. And really, I mean, the agencies just need to do a better job. I will say that we did not hire Sean Grayson in Decatur when he applied. He was an applicant. So we eliminated him based off some background things. So we probably dodged something there. But, you know, one thing they really hit on with Sean Grayson, and I kind of disagree with it in some ways, is they really went after his work history in law enforcement. And he'd been with several agencies. But I think that needs to be evaluated really individually. Because there's a progression in law enforcement of people that might start as a part-time police officer and then get a full-time job somewhere in a small agency. And then they want to work a little bit bigger agency, so they might move to like a sheriff's department for a couple of years. And then after that, they might want to come to like a Decatur police department. So we don't really just say, oh, you've worked at too many police departments, but we definitely look at why are you leaving those police departments? Because there's usually an underlying theme sometimes too. So to answer your question, yes, there's a big push, screen people harder. We have to have all the information now. The state of Illinois controls certification of police officers. It's the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board. They've kind of been challenged out of all this with the final authority, right? We have to report to them we've done certain things, and we've completed the process and checked the boxes, and then they have the final authority to not certify somebody if you want. If they don't want to, or they don't meet criteria. So they've kind of put the state as maybe an overseer of us as well. Now, a little bit more than they ever have been. They always had that power, but now they're charged with a little bit more control over the certification of officers and making sure that people are bad people aren't going places.
Are you required to give complete and full disclosure? So you don't, like sometimes with teachers, you just kick a bad teacher down the line rather than not.
Yes, that's what came out of this Massey Act, and I'll tell you, it's one hurdle that we've already had to climb with the process. Employers are very standard, if you will, are very quick to say, we can't say anything other than confirmed dates of employment. Well, now they can't. They have to provide us the information. So we have to go through a bunch of hoops to get it sometimes. Matter of fact, we had to file a court injunction against one business to get the information because that's new to the businesses as well, right? So, but yes, we have to make sure that, and us as Decatur as well, if we have an officer that leaves and they're going to go somewhere else, we full disclose everything to the agency to go, good, bad, or indifferent. Actually, always have.
Two more questions, one here and one over
Okay, I want to commend you on your professional stature.
Thank you.
Also, do you have any input on the curriculum at the police academy?
Like, do I know about it, you mean, or do I get to say what ought to be taught
Do
there?
you have any input at all?
Well, it's a state curriculum. So the state of Illinois sets the 16 weeks for the police academy, and they set all the number of hours that have to be completed. So everybody in the state of Illinois that goes to one of the, I think there's 7 police academies now, one of the 7 academies has the exact same training, the exact same number of hours. So the input that I would have is not really anything outside of if we are asked to engage with a conversation about a new curriculum or adding to a curriculum, but it's set at the state level.
First of all, thank you for what you and your department do for us every day.
Thank you.
But my question is, I think you have 154 officers total, 6 vacancies. That number has to be set either budgetarily or in some way. And I guess my question is, compared to other communities our size, you have more officers than average, the average number, or less than average?
Well, when I came on, we had 164, no, we had 163, and we had a five overhire. So we could hire as many as 168. So that way, as people left, you weren't always backfilling. You kind of had people to take spots. So over the years, the population has declined a bit. Obviously, the budget of the city has changed. So we did go down to like 147 or 148 a couple years ago, and then when Tim Gleason came back, he gave us some numbers back. So to answer your question, there's really not a magic formula that is used as an industry standard. I would say that we could use more police officers in Decatur. We're at 6 vacancies by just the fact that we're trying to fill them. We're not forced to keep those 6 vacancies. So later this year, there'll be another academy class starts in September. We should have those 6, if not more, spots filled. So as I think we're pretty average if you look at a population count. But personally, I think we could do a lot more if we had more officers, right? There's initiatives that we would like to be able to get back to doing, like putting officers out on bicycles, doing some more proactive patrols. One thing I didn't mention though is we have 20 officers currently in the training program, so we call them non-deployable. So out of that 148 police officers, we're in the process of training 20 of them. So we're really about, I have a couple people in long-term injuries too, so we're about 30 non-deployable positions right now. But in the next couple of weeks, some of these people are going to start cycling out of our training program. So it's a constant battle. The hiring has been over the last couple of years.
Thank you so much. We have this appreciation certificate. Thank you for your leadership in keeping our community safe and also our world famous Kiwanis. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Well, we've got a word for you today. Lord Gallagher wants to take a stab at
Somebody that talks a lot.
yeah. Somebody who's very talkative or full of words. All right.
Thank you.
Gary, you want to put the wheel up for us? Right up here. Okay, give it a spin. Three. Mug. Thank you. Okay, Linda, attendance?
Linda's occupied.
Oh, all right.
We have 53 members present with 1 guest speaker for a total of 54.
Okay, very good.
And we had door greeters today. Thank you.
All right. Health report, Roberta?
I have no new information, so short and sweet.
All right. Birthdays and anniversaries. Got a microphone coming, Kevin.
birthdays and anniversaries today. Birthdays and anniversaries from June 7th through the 13th. This year, but it's just flying by. Birthdays on the 8th, Gary Gogan, he'll be 86. On the 10th, Jim Kramer, he'll be 79. On the 10th, Elise Lewis, she'll be 53. Let's sing. Anniversaries. We have a lot this week. First of all, on the 7th, Linda and Pat Burnell. It'll be 40 years. That's a double. On the 8th, Dennis and Marilyn Noonan. It'll be 63 years. On the 8th, Mike and Mary Workman. It'll be 53 years. On the 10th, Jim and Trish Watson. It'll be 54 years. On the 12th, Curtis and Elaine Bean. It'll be 27 years. And on the 12th also, Mary and John Marshall. It'll be 50 years. Let's sing. Okay, apparently Bob Hope went to Russia at one time, so I've got a quote from that. Our first stop was Red Square, the heart of Russia, if Russia has a heart.
So, that's a lot of years of marriage. I read off there this morning. Yes. So, all right. Announcements here. Kyle.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I'd like to have a quick meeting of the golf committee right after this meeting. I'd like to see Linda, Darnell, Cheryl, Karen, Silvas, Mary Jean, Don Dash, and Joel. It's going to be very brief. We just want to make sure we're getting all our bases covered, we're not overlapping, and we'll get some stuff done. We need volunteers to help with the setup at 9 o'clock next Friday, not this coming Friday, the next Friday. That'll be to help set up the silent auction and set up the room for the golf outing. We'll be looking and talking to people next Wednesday, either see Linda or Karen. The whole sponsors, I'm leaving this meeting and going and finalizing the last of the signs. So that is closed. I think we did okay on that. Dinner, we are not taking any more reservations, but if you do come to the dinner and there's food left over, you can take home leftovers. So if you want to throw a Tupperware container or something in your car, feel free to do it. Thank you.
Okay, Mary Jean.
I still have 50-50 tickets. Still have 50-50 tickets. I also have 2 free dinner tickets, compliments of Harold, who is going to be unable to attend. So if anyone would like 2 free tickets, I have them available. Thank you. And I will be here again next week for 50-50 and the day of the golf also.
All right, very good. And Harold.
The library committee met recently, and we're very pleased with what's happening in terms of book distribution, what have you. Presently, we have given out about 20,000 books. We did decide to make plans to build one more library with possible prospect of putting it in the disc, but that may not materialize, but we'll look for some place to put it. So we're feeling pretty good about everything as far as the libraries are concerned. Thank you for your support.
Okay.
I'm still signing up for the tennis drivers. People, it's pretty easy. You meet at Fairview and you drive back and forth twice to the convention center, and sometimes you have ladies in the van with all their tennis gear and sometimes not. So it's just back and forth twice and your shift is over, really. Right now there are, let's see, 55 hours total for us, and the club has signed up for 34, so I'll be doing 21. There are 12 slots open still. The club had signed up for 16. We have 8 people that signed up once, 3 people that signed up twice, and 1 person who signed up 3 times. So I really appreciate those, and don't be shy, come and sign up, because they depend on us. They really do. So I'd appreciate it if you'd sign up and help out. Thank you.
Okay. I want to remind our last 4 new members and their sponsors that we have a schedule now for about the next 3 months of door greeters, so make sure that you avail yourself of the schedule and keep track of your appointments so that that happens.
Nick?
Yes.
What time do you plan for them to do that? By 9 o'clock?
By 9 o'clock, yes. I've got a little more information from the survey to share with you that I hadn't shared before, and that is that when it came to looking at the future of the club, almost all members recognize that adding younger members is a very, very high need in the club, and that if we did not do that, the club was going to have trouble sustaining itself because of the age of the current members in the club. And that many people believe that younger members can be attracted if we're creative and intentional about outreach and engagement. And I remind you again to think about people who might be retiring, from places where you work or that you have connections to, because this is the time of the year when many of the people make those decisions to retire and are going to be looking for something to fill their time. Along with that, some members indicated that it would be good for us to take a bit of an internal look at ourselves and to try to make sure that we're ready to receive new members. And this goes back to some of what was brought out earlier in terms of the club being sometimes not easy for new members to slide into because of our existing habits of sitting together and so forth, and not wearing our name tags so that they don't know who we are. There are things like that we really need to kind of put an extra emphasis on in order to help make the club ready to welcome people when they come to visit. So that really kind of covers the bulk of overall. There were some recommendations that came out of that we'll talk about, but that's the information on the data. So, all right. There's a board meeting coming up next week. If you want something on the agenda, get it to me. Because we talk about stuff that gets brought to us to put on the agenda, and those are the topics that we focus on. Okay. And I think we're ready for the 50-50.
Today, we took in $74 in sales and donations, so $37 goes to admin and $37 to the pot, which brings the pot today to $242. And the last last three numbers are 659. 659.
Right here. All right. Pick a card, any card. And it is 6 of hearts. And you don't get the money, but.
Okay. Well, I guess next week might be a big week. Okay. All right. Happy Judge. Who's got something to be happy about today?
Okay, I'm happy. We took a trip last week, picked my sister up in Baltimore, drove up to New Jersey, where I got to see my nephew give my great niece her high school diploma. I have never seen so much rain on a trip as we saw. Unbelievable rain, but it was a good trip.
I'm putting in $5 because I had a fantastic weekend in St. Louis, and all of my children and grandchildren, minus one, came, and we did every possible thing you can think of to do in St. Louis except go to a Cubs Cardinal game. Because Grandma doesn't care about baseball, so they decided not to drag me to that. And I'm very grateful. I'm too old to spend a lot of time crawling through the tunnels in the City Museum. But I had 6 of 7 grandchildren who crawled through them very happily. So it was great. It was a great way to, also saw Hadestown, which is an amazing musical at the Fox. Amazing. Hadestown.
I'm putting in $1 here. I'm happy about all 53 years.
I am happy that I met Linda Thomas at Good Samaritan and the other Kiwanians who were volunteering there. I'm happy that she invited me to come to a meeting, and when I did, I'm happy that everyone was so welcoming, and I'm happy that she is my sponsor, and I'm happy that I am an official Kiwanian now.
I'm happy that one of our granddaughters graduated from New Trier High School last Sunday, and they were able to read all 950 names in less than an hour.
Well, my paternal grandmother was 100. My mother lacked 3 months of being 102, but I have no intention of living that long.
I'm happy my grandson, Jack, was able to go to Costa Rica with the other leaders in his St. Teresa school, and I'm glad he went and came back safely.
Okay, first of all, I have $1 for Jack's grandson, who I believe I substitute taught him in 1st grade. And let's see, we'll put $1 in for the lovely weather we've had recently, and another $1 for, welcoming you back.
And I'm glad to be back. Put $2 in. I'm away from the hospital and I'm away from my nursing home.
I'm gonna put $5 in, first and foremost, to go beyond and above. I'm putting it 5 to go above Kevin's 3. But second, all of my kids came for my wife's birthday last week, and that was wonderful. All right, lots of happiness, that's great. Okay. Now we have a storyteller. A story.
All right. Look, the British man o' war was roaming the seas looking for whatever ships look for. Anyway, call comes down from the crow's nest. Captain, Spanish galleon at 500 leagues to port. And the captain says, okay, men, roll the drums for battle stations. Marines to your posts. Break open the arms chest. And then he says to ensign, go to my locker and bring my red shirt. So they proceed into battle and they're victorious. So everything's going well for another couple days. All of a sudden a cry comes down the crow's nest. Captain, pirate ship, 400 leagues to the port. Captain says, roll the drums, break out the arms chest, Marines to the quarterdeck, and ensign, go fetch my red shirt. Well, again, they're victorious. And after the battle's over, the ensign says, well, Captain, what's the deal with the red shirt? Well, it's very simple. I'm wounded in battle, and I start bleeding. No one will see that I'm wounded, and it will not dampen their spirits. If they see I'm wounded, they'll probably give up. So another few days goes by, and the call comes down to a crow's nest. Captain, Spanish fleet, 700 leagues to the port. That captain says, Marines of the quarterdeck, break out the arms. And the ensign says, well, Captain, shall I get our... before this, the ensign says, Captain, what's with the red shirt? Well, if I'm wounded, people won't see that I'm hurt. So then they call the arms, and the captain says, ensign, go to my sea chest and break out my brown pants.
Okay. Well, that's probably a note worth ending. All right. So we're going, okay, we enjoy changing our world for the better by serving children and others. Have a good week.